So we finally have the Platinum Trophy in Lies of P, which means it is time for tips and tricks I wish I knew earlier. Very quickly, before we jump into this, just for those of you out there who are maybe on the fence about getting this game and have maybe played the demo a little bit, I've got to say, hands down, this is the best Souls-like game that isn't actually a From Software title of any of the Souls-like games I played. It's incredibly good. It does resemble Bloodborne a little bit more than Dark Souls, but it's definitely got a little bit of both, and even some Sekiro with the parries in there. So if you are a Souls-like fan, definitely pick this one up. It does not disappoint. With that said, it is a difficult game, a very difficult game in fact, and there's no really easy cop-out way like there is in many of the Souls games, such as summoning your level 600 friend in, or just having your sorcerer build destroy the bosses from afar. In this, you actually have to, as they say, get good, and that's exactly what we're going to be showing you in this video. Let's start it off with the most OP broken thing in the game, which is pretty much like the easy mode on this game, and this will probably get nerfed, so definitely try this out before it does. And we are, of course, talking about the Aegis Legion Arm. Now, the reason that this Legion Arm is absolutely incredible is not its base form. It's once you upgrade it a couple of times using Legion Calibers, it has an ability that allows you to attack at the same time as guarding. Now this, if you haven't tried it yet, you probably don't realize how OP this actually is in this game. The amazing thing about this is, well, blocking like this, you actually take guard damage and not actual damage, which means the bar goes transparent, which gives you a chance to attack the enemy back, and if you hit the enemy in that time, you actually recover that health. So if you're guarding and attacking at the same time, you're constantly getting that health back. Now, of course, many of you are thinking you actually do lose stamina when you get hit while guarding as well as while you attack, so you're probably thinking your stamina gets depleted incredibly quickly like this. Well, not really, especially if you're wearing the Patience Amulet, which, by the way, you should definitely be wearing the Patience Amulet as it recharges your stamina quickly. This is equivalent to the Chloranthy Ring on Dark Souls, so it's a must on pretty much any build. But especially on this one, as your stamina is going to be recharging pretty much as quickly as it's getting depleted if you use specific weapons. The best weapons for this are the pokey weapons, such as the Rapier or the Etiquette, which is the umbrella weapon, which, by the way, absolutely amazing. Used that all the way through the game, destroyed everything with it on my first playthrough. The reason for this is that these weapons are actually relatively quick and use not much stamina at all to attack, so you are literally recharging your stamina almost as quick as it's taken away, even while taking hits guarding. So you're not losing any health, you're practically losing no stamina unless you're getting hit by those really heavy attacks consistently. Of course, it's not infinite, as we do have a Legion bar down at the bottom left, and this is constantly going down while guarding, not just when we take hits. To start with, you can increase your Legion bar to insane amounts just by upgrading the capacity stat, which is actually hands down the best stat to upgrade mid to late game, as this stat allows you to carry heavier stuff, especially for amulets and defense gear. This is going to be essential in later game, and the thing not many people actually notice about this is it also upgrades that Legion bar. The special thing about the capacity stat is, unlike every other stat in the game, this doesn't have any drop off all the way up to level 50, meaning most other stats such as health and stamina, once you hit 30, 35, the benefits you get for each level are going to be less and less for more amount of ergo. So this really becomes not worth upgrading much more than that. However, with the capacity, it doesn't fall off at all. You're constantly going to be getting pretty much the same amount all the way up until level 50. Which means you can get insane amount of weight capacity as well as Legion bar all at the same time. So after you've got a decent amount in either motivity or technique as well as your health and stamina, definitely dump a bunch of points into capacity. And then of course later on in the game you have the Veteran's Amulet that increases the Legion bar further. You can buy infinite Legion charges from the very first shop in the game from the start of the game, meaning you can do this block stab strat against the boss all the way until your Legion bar runs out, then simply back away a little bit, use a few of these Legion charge consumables, recharge your Legion bar and go straight back in and continue cheesing away at the boss. Okay, that's enough about easy mode. Let's jump into some tips and tricks that we can actually use without cheesing the game, let's say. Most of you have probably noticed by now that when you're just wailing away at bosses, eventually their health bar will start flashing with a white outline. This means that if you hit them with a charged R2 or a lot of the Fable attacks, they will go down and be staggered. When they get staggered, you can stand in the red sort of beam of light that appears in front or behind them. You can do a fatal blow or riposte attack, whatever you want to call it, and do a decent amount of damage. I see most people panic and quickly get into the red beam as soon as they possibly can just to make sure they don't miss their fatal blow. However, you can really take your time a little bit with this and actually stand outside of the red beam and get some free hits in as they're obviously not going anywhere. And then just before the time runs out, then you can stand in the red beam and get your fatal attack. But honestly, it's just free damage against the bosses, which can be really useful against some of the harder ones. There's actually a passive ability in the skill tree, the P organs that you use the quartz for, that expands the window of time that they are actually staggered for. So as soon as I seen any of these in the skill tree, I upgraded them instantly, as having them stunned for longer means you can get more free hits in before you get the riposte off. And by the end of the game, with the Umbrella, I was getting a solid 6 to 7 pokes off before even going for the fatal attack and still getting a chance to get the fatal attack in afterwards. So yeah, definitely go ahead and make sure you're implementing this into your boss fights especially. To actually stagger the enemies, like we said, you often have to get a charged R2 attack off on an enemy when the health bar goes white. But this, if you are using more of a motivity, a heavy-based weapon, this can be very hard to pull off a charged R2 attack against one of the fastest enemies in the game. An insane way to solve this is you can actually use shot puts, which are throwable items in this game, and if you throw it at any enemy with the white bar flashing, they will instantly get staggered. So like we said, especially if you're using some of those slower weapons with the long charged R2s, this is a game changer. And what gets even better is you can actually buy as many shot puts of these as you like from the merchant just before the final shortcut here in Malum District. We've obviously gone through the shortcut here just to show you guys, but it's right at the end in the tavern. We're not going to go all the way around here just to show you in this video. But yeah, you can buy as many throwable items, including shot puts, as you like from here. This next one, if you've been playing video games for a while, you've probably done this automatically anyway, but in the skill tree, make sure every time you get a chance to get the extra ergo on defeating enemies, you're upgrading that every time. Obviously, the more ergo, the more levels, the more stuff you can buy, everything. On that same note of making sure you're maximizing the amount of ergo you're gaining while playing the game, is you want to be wearing the Hunter's Amulet every chance you get. If you need to take it off to put something more useful on for a boss fight, obviously go ahead and do that. But just while casually clearing out the levels and stuff like that, wear the Hunter's Amulet, which also increases the amount of ergo you gain. As for the location of the Hunter's Amulet, it's in the basement of the arcade. It's dropped by the big Jester Elite Foe down there where the wine cellar and that is. Obviously, for the sake of this video, I'm going to be showing you the quick location from the Stargazer with the shortcuts open, just so you can see where you've got to end up. If you don't know how to get there, we do have full guide videos on how to get each amulet on the channel if you want to go check those out. But yeah, make sure you're picking up that amulet as soon as possible. By far, one of the most challenging things to get used to in this game are the Red Fury attacks, as if you're used to Dark Souls, you're probably used to just dodging everything. And this game allows you to do that for the most part, but then occasionally a red attack will come out of nowhere and suddenly you're going to panic and realize you've got to parry. Well, it's actually an amulet that allows you to dodge the Red Fury attacks. It's called the Ghost Walk Amulet. You can get this by trading the boss soul, well, the boss ergo, with Alidoro. And you need the ergo of the Puppet Devouring Green Hunter. So this is a little bit later on in the game. So it's a really, really useful ring, especially for New Game Plus. But the only downside is that the actual trade-off, the weapon you would get for trading in this boss ergo instead of the amulet, is the katana, which is my other favorite weapon in the game and definitely one of the best weapons. So you've really got to either go to New Game Plus to get 2 of these boss ergos and trade 1 for the weapon and 1 for the amulet, or really make a tough decision there. Talking about builds, you want to be very careful when combining different handles with different blades, as you may just think it affects the sort of moveset and what Fable Arts you get, but you want to check each handle for what sort of damage type they increase or decrease. So as you can see here, some of them will increase slash damage. So you want to make sure that the blade you're putting on this actually does slash damage and benefits from this bonus. Something about the skill tree, the P organs, that many people don't know is you don't actually need to put the points into the previous skill tree level to unlock the next one. You can actually put them into one of the earlier levels that require way less quartz to unlock the nodes to unlock the higher levels, without necessarily needing to level up the one just before it that requires a bunch of quartz, unless you're actually interested in that specific ability. I don't know if I explained that very well, hopefully you understand what I mean. So a few closing statements for this video. If you really are having a rough time and just can't get through it, I would really recommend maybe starting out again with a technique build instead of a motivity one, as the heavier weapons definitely do make this game more difficult, especially from early to mid game. Mainly if you don't have much experience in previous Souls titles, the heavier weapons are a lot harder to judge when you get time to get an attack and when you don't. If you're just using like a rapier or something really fast, often you'll get times to sneak in a few attacks pretty much anywhere in the fight without having to wait for specific openings. Anyway, definitely leave down below in the comments some tips and tricks for the new players coming into the genre, especially if you're a Souls veteran, as this game is definitely going to introduce a bunch of new people to the Soulsborne. So let's give them a good first impression and get everyone off with a good foot. So I hope you did find this video helpful. If you did, don't forget that thumbs up button, subscribe for more content coming very soon, and we'll see you next time.